Live from WXOU at Oakland University, it's the GioMoShow. Now, give it up for your host, GioMoShow.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the GioMoShow right here from WXOU Sports. My name is GioMoShow. I am your host of the GioMoShow, and the GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland sports and beyond from WXOU. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Make sure you leave a like, and to make sure you support the podcast all the ways that you can to make sure that everybody's got their taste, got their fix of Oakland sports each week. This week, we got a whole lot of Oakland sports to talk about as a lot of the teams are getting more into their season, cross country being added to the list of topics for this week as well. And we're one step closer from the NFL season. Today, we'll be doing my GioMoShow picks, which I'll be doing throughout the rest of the football season, where I'll be picking each individual game, as I got part of a Pick'ems League last year, and I had fun doing my picks live on the show. So we're going to continue that for this year as well, and see how my progress is throughout the season, see how high my correction percentage is. So we'll be going through that today, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So for those that are wondering why I'm back in my room here as opposed to the wonderful WXOU studios, is I don't know if you could tell by the sound of my voice, and I'm say it genuinely, I don't know if you could tell, but a little under the weather today, so keeping cautious, keeping safe. Let's be nice to everybody, and I'll stay home and do the show for this week. And surprisingly, the little headphone or the little microphone on my headphones is, not terrible. So we can do it for one more week before we get back into the studio. We're working on a couple of interviews, both with club football as well as with women's head basketball coach Jeff Tungett. Those are in progress in terms of scheduling right now, but do not fear. The GioMoShow interviews will soon be here. So I'm looking forward to those as well. Those are going to be a lot of fun to do as well. So before we get into all that stuff, all the goodness, all the Oakland sports, and the Detroit Lions NFL talk, here's a message from a few of our friends on the GioMoShow.
Before we get back to the show, let me tell you about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and Facebook and Instagram as well at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing. Make sure to grab a cannoli as well while you're there. Bart's Pizza, it's too good.
Welcome back here to the GioMoShow. Let's get things started for Oakland sports. We'll start with volleyball, as they have finished now their first 3 games of the regular season on the road at University at Buffalo. And I had to read it twice. It is University at Buffalo, as in a vague university in the city of Buffalo. I guess that's how they name it. But the Buffalo Invite is where they competed in their first 3 games of the season, starting against the hosting Buffalo. Oakland unfortunately suffered a loss 1-3 in that match. A close one was followed up against Army, and then the Golden Grizzlies got that bad taste out of their mouth in the last game against Hampton. We'll go through them in a little more detail. So against Buffalo, it was the Golden Grizzlies that got up in the first set. That one going close. Oakland would win the first set 25-23, but unfortunately were unable to break, or unfortunately had the reverse sweep happen to them, where Oakland would score just 13, 18, and 22 points on their way to a 1-3 loss against the hosting MAC team at University of Buffalo. So the second game in that 3-game tournament is where the Golden Grizzlies really turned it on. This one was really close and going back and forth between the two teams against the Golden Grizzlies and Army. So it was the Golden Grizzlies once again that got the first win in set 1, the same score as against Buffalo. It was 25-23, and then they would go back and forth. Army would win the first one, holding Oakland to 19 points. Oakland would win the third one, holding Army to 18 points. The fourth set is this one went into a lot of extra points, finishing with Army on top 30-28. So teams were really climbing up in that fourth set, trying to solidify themselves in the set, but it would ultimately go to set 5, where Army would outlast the Golden Grizzlies, winning that last one 15-11, giving Army the win of the Golden Grizzlies, their second loss at Buffalo. But their last one of the Buffalo invite would be where the Golden Grizzlies came out on top. A dominating sweep against Hampton University will be had as the Golden Grizzlies would hold Hampton to an average of 15 points in those 3 sets, holding them to 13 in the first set, 18 in the second, and only 14 in the third for a 3-0 sweep to get themselves out of Buffalo on a good note. So as it currently stands, the Golden Grizzlies will start their season 1-2 overall, and with no conference games yet to be played. Their next trip will be at Eastern Michigan, not far away, where they would first face George Washington University, this one Friday, September 6th, as well as Marshall University before Saturday brings them head-to-head against the hosting Eastern Michigan Eagles. And then they'll finally return home to the arena Friday, September 13th against Sacramento State, where we'll finally hear the lovely voice of Kevin Beers at the arena on the blacktop for some home volleyball action at Oakland University. So a good start so far for the Golden Grizzlies, and we just keep on waiting until that first home game comes and the Horizon League season begins. So now before we get into women's soccer, I want to remind you guys to go and subscribe to WXOU Sports on YouTube. That's where all of our broadcasts, our audio broadcasts of our games will be live streamed as well as recorded, as well as interviews and highlights, and a whole bunch of sports content from your favorite college radio station will all be found on WXOU Sports. We have interviews with athletes and coaches, both post-game and otherwise, and we got great coverage of Golden Grizzlies sports. That is the place to be for sure. And you can follow WXOU on all social media platforms. Go find them on WXOU.org. Follow them on Instagram at WXOU Radio and on Twitter at simply WXOU. So we'll be right back with women's soccer. And we're back here on the GioMoShow. Let's get into women's soccer now, as the Golden Grizzlies have now had 2 home games in a row, one of which being their first win of the season. A new tradition was born, as according to Devin Vosek, the head coach of the Golden Grizzlies, via Twitter, they had a video after the game of, after their first win of the season, they had a bit of a dance circle going and a chant of 1, 2, 3 donuts. You guys got to watch the video. It makes more sense. But according to Devin Vosek, that's a new tradition being born under his head coaching tenure. It'll always be a dance circle after a win, and they will all count down and shout out donuts, which I just absolutely love when it comes to traditions, because for college sports in general, and you can even expand it to sports in general, I just think it's more pronounced in college sports, traditions are just amazing. That's a huge part as to what gives college sports its own unique flavor over the professional ones, is that there is so much more history in college athletics than there are in some professional sports, and some of them, not all of them. But traditions like that, whether they're new, whether they're silly, it's about keeping it going. That's what makes it special. It's linked to the players and the coaches in the university. That's what makes a tradition so special, and I hope this one becomes one of those for the Golden Grizzlies. So that win came against Illinois State University this past Thursday, August 29th. The Redbirds would see defeat as the Golden Grizzlies would win it 1-0. Their second home game of this past week was played Sunday, September 1st against Northern Illinois University. Unfortunately, Oakland suffered a loss, the reverse score from their first victory, 0-1. So we'll get into more detail for the Illinois State game. It was Putri Sazali that was able to just hit a bullseye off of a free kick that gave Oakland their first score in the 32nd minute. But otherwise, looking at the game in more of the box score category, it would be ISU that had the majority of the shots during the game. They would be up in that margin 11-6 over the Golden Grizzlies, although they were tied in shots on goal. But you look down into the corner kicks category, and the Redbirds were in advantage 12-3 on corner kicks. So the Oakland defense doing a great job holding off on numerous set pieces, as well as free kicks that go along with that. Some of those can be incredibly hard to defend, depending on certain teams. At the Michigan Soccer Network, we see teams that are lethal on set pieces, but sometimes you just keep knocking on the door and nobody's answering. That would be the case for ISU against the Golden Grizzlies defense, and that one free kick goal from Sazali would be the one that decided the game in the first half. Oakland wins it 1-0 against Illinois State. We then move down to the Northern Illinois University game. It would be the Huskies that would score in the 59th minute in the second half. Oakland would have it tied going into halftime, where it would be scored by Tyra King in that 59th minute. This one a little bit more even in the statistical category compared to their previous game against ISU. NIU would be in advantage for shots 9-4, but 5 of those shots would be on goal. Oakland was unable to find any of their 4 shots to be on target. So that one being a big disparity. Corner kicks, not as many as allowed in the previous game, but still, Oakland didn't have a single corner kick throughout this game. Meanwhile, the Huskies, 5 of them throughout the game. So a 5-0 advantage in the corner kicks department as well would be part of the defeat for Oakland, as they would lose 1-0 to Northern Illinois. That puts their current record at 1-4-1 this season. And they're 1-1-1 and away, 0-3 in away games. Coming up for the Golden Grizzlies, Sunday, September 8th, they will find another home game, this one against the University of Toledo, to help welcome back all of the students to campus, as classes should be starting maybe tomorrow as of this recording. It's usually the Thursday after Labor Day is when Oakland's fall semester starts. But that would be part of the welcoming for the students, as they got so many events going on in Oakland. I remember Grizz Fest being a huge one, and Welcome Week. They do a great job of welcoming everybody back at Oakland. And going to some of the games is definitely a big part of how they do that. So before we get into men's soccer, I want to give a shout out to Jake's Takes. If you want in-depth coverage of all professional sports, along with interviews with coaches and college athletes, both inside and outside of Oakland, then check out Jake's Takes. Hosted by Oakland men's basketball manager Jake Masucci, Jake's Takes is your place to be for all things sports. He's in the middle of his college coaches and athletes interview series, including Oakland men's basketball player Baru Navalurua, assistant coach Bobby Naubert, and former Golden Grizzly, now Washington Husky, Chris Conway. Subscribe to Jake's Takes and follow the show on Instagram at Jake's Takes. That's Jake's Takes with a dot after K. Let me say that again. It's Jake's Takes with a dot after K is where you can find him on Instagram, and look for the yellow logo. So that will bring us now into men's soccer. They got a whole lot of home games coming up, so stick around to the end of the segment to see when the Golden Grizzlies will be playing at the Oakland soccer field. But the only game for this past week would be at Butler University. Excuse me, I'm trying to find my voice back. It would be at Butler University. This one would be tied just after halftime. It would be Butler that scored in the 14th minute by Josemir Gomez, assisted by Palmer Alt and Ryan Hanosh, I think would be how you pronounce it. But it would be the new addition to the Golden Grizzlies, Francesco Mazzei, that would score in the 48th minute to tie it up just after halftime. For the Golden Grizzlies, that would be Mazzei's first goal as a Golden Grizzly and his first goal of the season. Teams would battle back and forth, but just a few minutes before the game would normally be over, Butler was able to get back on the board and regain the lead in the 86th minute as they were able to squeak one past Alex Flowers in goal with a, quote, skyscraping header, as put by SID Jordan Nelson. That would end up being the game winner for Butler, and they would defeat the Golden Grizzlies 2-1 to serve Oakland a loss on the road. That puts their record currently at 0-3 as the Golden Grizzlies are still looking for their first win of this season under now head coach Paul Duro. And they will now have, like I mentioned before, a whole lot of home games coming up to hopefully get back into the winning column. Their first one would be Friday, September 6th against former Horizon League foe UIC. Will be coming to town as part of the Welcome Back Students series of games that they'll be having at Oakland. Following that shortly, Monday, September 9th, would be a home game against the Michigan State Spartans. Oakland had a great outing with them at Michigan State last year. I believe they held it 2-2, which a great game for the Golden Grizzlies. They'll now bring them home to the Oakland soccer field to face the Spartans. That's Monday, September 9th. And then Saturday, September 14th would be the start of Horizon League play as Cleveland State comes to town. Following that would be Tuesday, September 17th versus Loyola Chicago at the Oakland soccer field. So we got 4 home games in a row coming up for the Golden Grizzlies. Be sure to mark your calendars. Be sure to tune into WXOU Sports for our coverage of that. And then stay tuned here on the JoMo Show to see how the Golden Grizzlies do this season. And now, before we get into our final Golden Grizzlies segment of cross country, let me tell you about the Oakland club sports that they got for this season. And we cover club sports here on the JoMo Show and try to give them a spotlight because what they do for their sports is completely out of their pocket in terms of financially and in a time sense. These athletes love their sport. They love it enough to do it on the side purely for the love of the game, and we love to give them their shine as well. They got a whole bunch going on for this season. Club football is getting started. Women's soccer is getting started. Hockey will be coming up, as well as in addition to many, many other club sports. So be sure to follow you at OU Recwell. That's University Recreation and Wellbeing. They are the hosts of all the club sports. Be sure to follow them, follow the teams, get to some of those games. We got 5 home football games this season, and that's the only football we got at Oakland University. So be sure to show up and show out for some live, real tackle football, as well as the other sports coming up as well. You can also check out my interview with Club Sports Director Kyle Reese, the man who runs the show for the Club Sports. And I had an interview with him not once, but twice here on the JoMo Show. And he's got a great story about a run-in between him and former coach of Kentucky basketball, John Calipari. So be sure to tune in to our second interview to find that story there. And follow all the club sports throughout the season. And welcome back here to the JoMo Show, final segment here for the Golden Grizzlies part of our show. We go now into cross country, who we didn't mention last week because nothing really happened yet for them. So we gave it an extra week to build out the story a little bit for their start of the season, and we got some for you. It will be the Horizon League preseason poll that starts off our segment here, putting Oakland men's cross country at 3rd place in the Horizon League and the reigning Horizon League champion, Oakland women's cross country, standing at number 1. It would be Oakland men's team that would get 71 points in the vote, none of which would be of a first place vote, but enough to get 3rd place in the Horizon League at the start of the season. But the women's team would get 8 first place votes for a total of 116 points, sending them way high to the top of the list. Behind them will be Milwaukee and Purdue Fort Wayne within 11 and 16 points as of the voting. And in addition to that news, because of their performance that I'll be mentioning here in a little bit, Yami Albright would be named Horizon League Runner of the Week for his performance in the 55th annual Tommy Evans Invitational at Akron, Ohio. We'll get into the details of that right now. The cross-country team for the men's side, it would be a 2nd place finish over all competitors. 8 teams competed in this. Oakland would finish 2nd in it with a 57-point total. Yami Albright, as mentioned, 5th place, crossing the 6K finish line. 18:18.8 was his time. For the women's cross-country team, they would finish 4th place overall, with Grace Nolan finishing at the top spot for the Golden Grizzlies. 4th place in the 5K with a time of 17:54.7. For the Golden Grizzlies, that puts their current record at a question mark because they don't do the season the same way as the other sports. But in addition to that, their next meet would be at Western Michigan University on September 20th. That would be Friday for their next competition. And before we get into our football therapy, before we get into the JoMo Show picks this week, I want to tell you about Friday Night Groove, one of the biggest shows on WXOU. Friday Night Groove is your home of some of the best soul, jazz, electronic, and indie music that we have here at the station. Hosted by DJ RBJ since 2011, he has interviews with the artists that he features on the show, as well as having one of the best radio voices in the station. You could go to FridayNightGroove.com and follow at Trill Gunderson. That's TRIL Gunderson on Instagram for all the latest on the show. For Friday Night Grooves, Fridays at 8 p.m. on WXOU. We'll be right back with football therapy. And welcome back to the JoMo Show. Football therapy is here as we get ready for the start of the NFL season. That means the Detroit Lions will be back to face the Los Angeles Rams in Week 1. And we'll be going through all of my picks for Week 1 of the NFL season here on the JoMo Show. So I want to start with a little bit of a preview of the Lions and the Rams game. So, of course, it has to be the Rams to start the season. And of course, and even week 2 is Tampa Bay, so we're just kind of doing a repeat of our playoff run for the Lions. But listen, this isn't going to have the same juice as the playoff game. There is no way it could possibly do that. That is a once-in-a-lifetime matchup and situation and opportunity for the Lions fan base. So it's week 1 of the NFL. As much juice as we want to put into this one, as much as we want to hate Stafford, and as much as we want to beat the Rams, it's not going to feel the same as it does in the playoffs. And is it going to sting if we lose to them week 1? Yeah, it'll sting. Oh, for sure. But understand that for us as fans, it's never going to take away the victory that we had in the playoffs. First wins in 30 years at home. Listen, nothing's going to ever replace that. So I want to kind of have everyone refresh their perspective when it comes to watching this game. Listen, this is a new season. This is a new squad. Does that mean I think we're going to lose? Am I walking this back because I think we're going to lose? No. We should win this game. Don't get it twisted. This is a game that the Lions should win and should start off the season undefeated. And I want to point out some reasons why, because one, the retirement of Aaron Donald is significant, because even with him on the field in the playoffs against the Lions last year, it's Frank Ragnow, as injured as he was still able to handle Aaron Donald and not at least not have Aaron Donald directly wreck the game for the Lions. So without a Hall of Fame talent on the defensive line, the Lions offensive line gets a boost in that sense. Not to say that their young players on the Rams aren't any good. Of course, Kobe Turner is a great addition to their defensive line as he goes into his second year, but they have decreased on their defensive line. You can't help it. You lost Aaron Donald. That's how it is. So that part gives the Lions a boost in this one. But in addition to that, with our additions of Carlton Davis and Amik Robinson to our defensive backfield, I think that the Lions are going to be a lot better suited to not let Puka Nacua get 9 catches for 181 yards and a touchdown. And even though it's going to be Nacua and Kupp, everyone's going to have that same struggle, but I think the Lions are now better suited to handle that. And maybe, it's not so much that we get completely torched by them, but, we keep it reasonable. They're still going to get theirs, but at least we could keep it a little bit reasonable is what I'm going to be thinking for our matchup versus the Rams passing game. So with those in mind, I think we could still win this one. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I think we should. But I just wanted to make sure that I kind of reframed it for everybody that this isn't the playoff game. This is a regular season game. And it's not doom and gloom no matter what happens. It's not high on the mountaintops. It's not low in the valley. A win in week 1. Listen, this is a Super Bowl run, okay? You get the win you can. And if you don't, you move on and make damn sure that you get the next one. That's how it is. This is long term, everybody. Let's get that straight. But the point I wanted to mention this one, do you guys think that they're going to give Blake Corum the ball on the goal line? Do you think the Rams are going to do that and have Blake Corum score a touchdown at Ford Field in front of all the Michigan fans, against Aiden Hutchinson, former Wolverine, you think they're going to do that storyline? I don't think so, just because Kyron Williams is a bad MFer. But, I would enjoy that. If they had to score a touchdown, if they were on the goal line, and every version of the universe says that the Rams are going to score on that drive, I think it would be cool for Blake Corum to do so. Not because I'm a Michigan slappy or whatever. Okay, I went to Oakland. I reserved the right to be neutral in the Michigan versus Michigan State rivalry within the state for fandom reasons. Okay, I went to Oakland. I'm neutral. I just think it would be cool. It would be a cool note for the broadcast to say, to have that moment. Sports are about cool moments like that. Rivalries against former teammates, or Hutchinson going off against the Jaguars because they didn't pick him number 1 overall. I mean, for me as a broadcaster especially, I appreciate those little kind of storyline notes. So for Blake Corum, if the Rams had to score, I think it would be cool to hand it off to Corum at the goal line. But Do I really think that's going to happen? No, because I think Kyron Williams would just get the ball in this kind of situation. Or they would just pass it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying that's a very unlikely thing. I wouldn't put that on the betting card, let's say. So enough talk. Let's get to the GioMoShow picks, everybody. Let's go through week 1 and see where I will be standing by the end of week 1 and see if I still got what it takes to be a great pick'em person. So we'll start off with the beginning of the season. It'll be the rematch of the AFC Championship game. It'll be the Ravens at the Chiefs. The Ravens have Derrick Henry now. The Chiefs are the Chiefs at the Chiefs. And by the way, I'm doing this live, like as of recording. I haven't scripted out my picks earlier. Like I'm genuinely like looking at it and thinking about it. As I will do for the foreseeable future of the show. That's how we roll here. We pick them live. So for the Ravens at the Chiefs, I might be doing this a lot throughout the season, but I might pick against the Chiefs more often than I should. But I mean, they got Derrick Henry, man. Like, you got to improve a little bit. That you got for the Ravens. They didn't run the ball against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They now have a great reason to do so. I would hope they do so. So give me the Ravens in week 1. Packers and Eagles in Brazil for some reason. 2 green teams in Brazil. I remember hearing the story like there's like gangs that won't let you wear green. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's a fake story, but I just think it's kind of cool that they're like not cool, but it's a funny story that the NFL would just like kind of force this on a nation and wouldn't accept it. Is whatever. I'm cutting that part. But Packers at Brazilian Eagles. So we got one team that's coming off of a red hot postseason for the Packers, a young team that did very well in the playoffs, and they're going up against a team that completely tanked and lit on fire and had a garbage can thrown to them at the end of their season. So, and I'm not going to continue the momentum that they finished the seasons with. I think the Eagles are going to get this one because they have to bounce back. That was so bad last year, the way they finished. They got to bounce back. They need it. So give me the Eagles. Then we go to the Sunday 1 o'clock slot, Steelers at Falcons. Do you think Kirk Cousins is going to get the first win of this? Get his first win as a Falcon the first time? Or do you think Russell Wilson will get it as the Steelers starter? I just gotta think the Falcons just on paper are a much better team, but Tomlin just likes to win stuff for no reason. I'm going to go with the home team Falcons in that one. Then we also got Cardinals and Bills. I know Cardinals aren't going to be like dumpster fire this year, but they're not going to be like, beautiful marble fireplace either, if we're going based on bonfires. A bonfire metaphor, but I got to say the Bills are a better team. I just think they're the better team. The better team will win at home. Titans at Bears. Now, I know that everybody throughout the offseason would say that they would beat the Titans, but I think the Bears are going to need a little bit of time to reach their final form. I know they'll be good. It's scary, but I know they'll be good. I don't think it's going to start immediately week 1. Give me the Titans in an upset at Soldier Field. I gotta zag sometimes when everyone's zigging, you know what I mean? Like to get these pick'em things, like you gotta pick things that other people don't, giving you the advantage. I'm going to take the Titans in an upset for that one, for that reason. Patriots at Bengals. Bengals, okay, let's not, I know I picked Titans last one, let's not get crazy. Patriots are terrible. Give me the Bengals. Titans at Colts. Now, this one's interesting because both these teams are pretty good in best case scenario. Just because we don't really know what the Colts are going to look like with a healthy Anthony Richardson. But the Texans are just like, they're Super Bowl favorites at this point, or Super Bowl contenders at this point, according to some people. So with all that in mind, give me the Texans, a division win on the road. Jaguars at Dolphins, still in the 1 o'clock slot on Sunday. I do like the Dolphins, and I got a feeling that they could win the division this year. I don't know if the Bills are equipped to win it for the fifth or fourth time in a row. I don't see the Jets doing it just because I wouldn't trust to pick them this early to do so. So I like the Dolphins to finally get everything together, hopefully not be bitten by an injury bug again, and get the division win. And that's going to start against the Jaguars. Panthers at Saints. Gross. I don't know what to do with this one. Give me the Panthers in a please, we're drowning, save us. And I think they could throw a life preserver against the Saints. Vikings at Giants. Another terrible matchup. Thank God this one's also in the 1 o'clock slot. Giants. I don't know, man. I think Sam Darnold's going to do a lot better than people are thinking. Give me the Vikings on the road, just because like Nick Mullins. I think it was Nick Mullins that was the fill-in for the Vikings last year. He did decent. He throws for a lot of yards, got a lot of stats, made some bad decisions, but I think Sam Darnold's a little bit of an upgrade over Nick Mullins, and you got some of the best receivers, or at least the best receiver. So give me the Vikings. I think Darnold's going to be okay. Still last in the division, but okay. So now we get to the 4 o'clock slot. Raiders at Chargers. I like the Raiders in this one. I love what their coach is doing. I love the vibe of the Raiders. And the Chargers, similar to what the Bears have, I think it's just going to take a little bit of time before they get on their feet. And week one's a lot to expect to just come right out of the gate and be a Jim Harbaugh team. Like, boom, like that. I think it might take some time. Meanwhile, I think the Raiders are at least higher up in their pursuit of a division championship. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Raiders are just like 1 year ahead of the Chargers. So I'm taking the Raiders. Broncos at Seattle. And I'm sure when they were scheduling this, they were imagining that Russ would be on either one of these teams. But neither is the case. So we got Broncos at Seahawks. Bo Nix and Geno Smith. I'm just going to go with the home team on this one. Home team. Give me the Seahawks. Then Cowboys at Browns. So they're not going to have the Browns are not going to have Nick Chubb back. The Cowboys. I'm not a big fan of the running back room this year. But who's that? Is it Deshaun Watson for the Browns still? Is he still the quarterback for them? Give me the Cowboys. Commanders at Buccaneers. Does Jaden Daniels win his first game? That's kind of how I like to judge some of these games. Is like you can't like, what does the headline read? Is the headline ridiculous? Jaden Daniels wins his first game as a Commander against the Buccaneers. I don't think it's crazy. It's at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay didn't particularly get better or worse. Yes, the head coaching change was there, but I think I like the theory that a newly assembled team is going to take more than week one to get ready. So give me the Buccaneers as a team that won a playoff game last year and kind of stayed the same versus a Commanders team who's trying to find their way up. Give me the consistent team. Give me the Buccaneers. Lions will beat the Rams in Detroit Sunday night. Book it. And then finally, Monday night will be the Jets at the 49ers. I do not trust the Jets right now. Give me the Niners. And for a tiebreaker, what will the total score be? I think it will be low. No, what's a low score? 42 points? 22, 21 points each? No, I think that's even a bit much. We'll go 40. I don't really know how to do point totals, but because it's asking, I'll say 40 points. Save it. Book it. Those are my GioMoShow picks for this week. We will recap my percentage of correct picks next week on the GioMoShow when we get ready to pick week 2. And overall, that will cut it for the GioMoShow here. So I appreciate you guys sticking by. It's not, I'm making it work here under a little bit of an illness. A mild one, of course. I'm not complaining here, but we're dealing with stuff here. But I appreciate you guys sticking around. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow the JoMo Show on Instagram at the GioMo Show. Use the hashtag the GioMO Show. Follow the show and support the show however you can. And we'll be back next week, hopefully at WXOU, with more Oakland sports and beyond. My name is Giovanni Mosheri, and this has been the JoMo Show.